really grateful to Didi for taking out time to connect with us and share her thoughts and insights on how to overcome fear. Didi, welcome to Shanti Sarovar, and we look forward to your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, and Om Shanti. And my voice is audible?
Yes, Didi.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So as you said, a very relevant topic, how to overcome fear. Because we all know that we are living in a very uncertain times and things keep on changing. And as things keep on changing, we also suffer from stress, worry, and anxiety. कितनों के मन में ये क्वेश्चन उठता है, how, when, what, and most importantly, what if? पता नहीं क्या होगा, कहीं ये ना हो जाए. There are a lot of things going on in our heads. And one thing about fear is that it stops us from experiencing wonderful things in life. It stops us from enjoying life to the fullest. Because things will change. But if we fear change, then we'll not be able to even accept the opportunities which come our way. We'll not be able to tap onto the good things which may be coming our way. So we need to understand in this session, we'll go on this journey. We'll go on this journey together on how we can, how we can overcome fear, how we can go from being fearful to being courageous. So let's start. But before we start, I'll just ask all of you one question. What are the different kinds of fear which you all face in your life? If you want, you can write on the chat also. What are the fears which you are holding on to? Examination fear, okay. और बताइए अंदर क्या क्या डर है हमारे. What are the different kinds of fear? What we are fearful of? Future thinking, okay. We are fearful of future, life threats. Wonderful. Anything else? Fear of misery, fear of rejection, okay. Health of kids, okay. We are very fearful of for our loved ones. Social fear. Public speaking, okay. Anything else? Not being in present moment also sometimes makes us fearful, okay. Fear of what others say about us, okay. There's a lot of coming for examination fear. Fear of being judged, wonderful. Okay, so we have a lot of fear in our lives, like you said, but I have just written down certain fears which maybe you may be familiar with. The first fear is fear of unknown, a new situation. So probably we are really fearful of what may happen next. If a new situation, it is not a status quo, then we are fearful. There is a fear of loneliness. कितने लोग हैं वो अपने से डरते हैं कि कहीं हम अकेले ना रह जाएं. There is fear of loneliness. Like we said, we are very fearful of future. कल क्या होगा, कल एग्जाम में क्या होगा. And when we are giving exams, we are fearful results कैसे आएंगे. Fear of illness. We are fearful of what may happen to us or what may happen to our loved ones. Fear of other people, जैसे आप लोगों ने लिखा, fear of rejection, fear of not being accepted by others. fear of others' opinions. Next one is fear of failure. सबसे ज्यादा डर किसका लगता है? कहीं फेल ना हो जाए. कुछ भी करते हैं, कहीं भी जाते हैं, एक अंदर ये डर रहता है कि कहीं फेल ना हो जाए. Fear for our loved ones. We are always fearful that something may happen to our loved ones. And the last one is fear of authority. There are many people who are afraid of those who are in position of authority. Maybe their parents, their boss, and sometimes people are even afraid of God, who is the ocean of love, but we are fearful of God. So these are certain things which we are fearful of. But you know what? Spirituality tells us that every kind of fear, why we are fearful? Because we are fear in loss. We are fearful of losing. आप इतने ये जो भी हमने कैटेगराइज किया fear, इसको अगर हम देखें तो भय के पीछे कारण क्या होता है? We are fearful of losing something. We are fearful of losing people, our closed ones. We are fearful of maybe losing our possessions. We may be fearful of losing our position, our prestige, जिसे हम कहते हैं ना हमारी identity. We are fearful of losing power. जिसे हम कहते हैं ये जो है ये हमारे कुछ P's हैं. 6 P's which we are always fearful of losing. Losing people, losing pay, money को हम lose नहीं करना चाहते. We are fearful of losing possession, position, prestige or power. There's always a fear of loss. और जहां ये loss का डर होता है तो वो भय, अनिश्चितता अपने आप आनी शुरू हो जाती है. So we'll be discussing certain ways on how we can move on from this. But again, another question for you. Is fear an illusion or a reality? What will you say? What do you say? Is fear an illusion or a reality? Okay, fear is a reality. Sangeeta sister says it's an illusion. Illusion, okay? Illusion, but sometimes can be a reality. It's an imagination. Wonderful. I would like to tell you that fear is nothing, but say it's an illusion. And where do we make it a reality? Over here. But in truth, fear is always an illusion. But what we do is we create it reality over here. It's nothing but it's a negative story which we keep playing out in our minds. You know, there's a constant chatter in our minds. There's a constant conversation going on in our minds. And most of that chatter or most of that conversation is usually negative. जैसे आप देख रहे हैं fear की definition क्या है? It's nothing, it's false evidence appearing real. And where do we make it real? We make it real in our minds. बाहर कुछ नहीं है. There is only a situation. But what we do of that situation, we can make it a calamity. We can make it an opportunity. But where do we make it? We make it over here. So it's nothing but it's a negative story which we are constantly playing out in our minds. Because I always say that the greatest horror story ever told, you know, it doesn't happen in the pages of a book or on the movie screen. It happens inside your own head. Because we are wonderful storytellers, masterful storytellers. And we create the most elaborate horror stories शायद इतना तो किसी मूवी में भी इतनी वंडरफुल हॉरर स्टोरी नहीं दिखाते होंगे जितना हम अपने मन में उसको क्रिएट कर लेते हैं. We keep telling ourselves you will get into an accident on your way to work. If we see someone who is suffering from an illness, we say, you also may have cancer without knowing it. We keep telling ourselves, keep bringing us down, you will never be good enough to achieve your dream. And the most
Sister, we lost your voice. If you can check, please.
story को डायरेक्ट भी करते हैं. So masterful directors of our life. मैंने कुछ situations आपके सामने रखी हुई हैं. There are certain situations, there may be many more situations, but just see how things play out in our minds. So say if you have a situation where your loved one doesn't pick your call. So what is the story that we begin to write in our minds? What is the story you write in your minds? If your loved one do not pick your call, or probably your loved one is late. Okay, you say they are ignoring me. Wonderful. Something may have happened. Yes, negative. And just imagine if I'm sitting with my friend and their loved ones do not pick up the call and they say, what if something may have happened to them? तो हम क्या कहते हैं? शुभ शुभ बोल, अच्छा सोच, कहीं जो तूने सोचा है वो सच ना हो जाए. What if what you are thinking becomes a reality? Think right. We are mastered, जब दूसरे को एडवाइस देनी होती है, we are wonderful givers of advice, wonderful wisdom keepers. लेकिन जब हमको खुद उस सिचुएशन में आते हैं एंड वी राइट आवर ओन स्क्रिप्ट, तब हम क्या करते हैं? then more or less it is always negative. Like you have said, something may have happened. कहीं वो लेट हो गए हैं. हम ये भी सोच सकते हैं कि लेट हो गए हैं, लेकिन हम क्या कहते हैं? They may be ignoring our calls. Something may have happened. Okay, let's go to the second situation. Company is laying off employees. एक न्यूज निकली that my company is laying off employees. Now what will be my thought process? अब कौन सी स्क्रिप्ट लिखना शुरू करते हैं? Okay, we say that I may be the one who may lose my job. Why do I never think that I have so much capacity, that I am a wonderful employee and know my job will always be safe? Or even if something happens, I have the capacity to get another job. Why do we always focus on the negative? कि मेरे साथ ही कहीं कुछ ना हो जाए, मेरा जॉब ही क्यों नहीं कहीं चला ना जाए. Fear of losing my job. Okay, the third one is you gave a wonderful performance and people don't compliment you on your performance. Now what happens? People really want compliments to come their way. Even if you are telling a joke, you want others, we don't want others, we want everyone to appreciate our joke. We want everyone to compliment us. And even if one person doesn't compliment us, what thought it brings to us? We get demotivated. We get demotivated, but what do we think? What is the story that we begin to write in our minds? More or less, what we say is, people don't like me. उसने मुझे कॉम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया, मे बी इट मे बी माई ड्रेस, इट मे बी माई परफॉर्मेंस, तो हम क्या कहते हैं? दे डोंट लव मी, दे डोंट लाइक मी. सबके साथ तो करते हैं, मेरे साथ ही नहीं करते. सबको कॉम्प्लीमेंट मिलेगा, सबको अप्रिशिएट करेंगे, लेकिन मुझे अप्रिशिएट नहीं करते. सो दिस इज द समथिंग विच इज बिकमिंग ऑटोमेटिक मोड. यू नो, एक ऑटोमेटेड मोड हो गया है, where we keep on focusing on the negative aspects of the life and we keep on writing the scripts. और जब तक ये स्क्रिप्ट चलती रहेगी, तब तक हमारे जीवन में परेशानियां रहेंगी. You know, there is a very wonderful philosopher, Tony Robbins, and he said, the only thing that's keeping you from getting what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. Because the story that you create here, that is the reality. But if you keep telling yourself that I'm not good enough, I won't be able to make it, something might happen, I will fail in exam, I may not get good marks in exam, okay, that is the reality, because thoughts manifest. And the most powerful thing is what you keep telling yourself again and again. It becomes a mantra. And this is what you believe in. And this plays a big role in how you see the world, how you see yourself, and how you feel about yourself. If you see yourself as someone very confident, as someone very wonderful, even if you will be faced with difficult situations, you will be able to overcome them. Why? Because you see yourself as someone very powerful, someone very confident. So what you tell yourself is very important, because this is what you believe in. And like Tony Robbins said, the only thing that keeps you from getting what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. And there's a wonderful story related to this. And the story goes like this. In ancient times, it was customary for a traveling monk. You know, Buddhist monks, they used to have monasteries. And it was customary for a traveling monk who wanted to lodge at a monastery to engage in a dharam combat with the head monk. If the traveler who has come to a monastery, if he would win that dharam combat, then he would be entitled to stay in that monastery. And if not, he would have to go somewhere else, and he would have to seek quarters elsewhere. So what happened was, there was this famous monastery, and there were two monks there. One was the master monk, and another was his attendant. And there was a problem that the attendant had only one eye. सिर्फ एक आंख थी उसकी. One eye was damaged. So every day when he used to look in the mirror, he would tell himself, I am not good enough. People don't like me. People don't love me. He would keep on, saying that to himself. So what happened was, one day the master monk, the head monk, he was very tired. So he assigned all the duties to his attendant, and he said that if any traveling monk comes, then you'll have to engage in that dharam combat. And it happened that it was evening, and one traveler monk came, and he said that I want to stay in your monastery. So that attendant, he said, okay, you'll be allowed, but I challenge you into a silent debate, into a mute debate. So he said, fine. So some time passed, and after a few minutes, that traveler monk, he was returning, and he turned to the master monk who was doing rest. So he went to the master monk, he touched his feet, and he said, your attendant, he engaged me into a dharam combat, but I must tell you that your attendant is a very wise person. He's too good for me. He won today, so I need to keep my journey on, and I cannot stay in your monastery, but I have to tell you that he is wonderful. So the master monk said, what happened? He said, your attendant, he asked me to sit on the floor, and we were doing a silent debate, a silent conversation. In that silent conversation, I held up one finger. So the master monk, he said, what did you mean by that one finger? He said, it meant, I said, there is only one God. सिर्फ एक परमात्मा है, दूजा ना कोई. There is only one God. So he said, okay. So he said, your attendant, he said, he raised his two fingers. So master monk said, what did it mean? He said, it means that God, along with his teachings, that makes sense. If we just believe in God and we do not believe in his teachings, then there is no relevance. So he said, then I put up three fingers. The master monk asked, now what do these fingers indicate? He said, I said, God, his teachings, and along with his teachings, we as monks begin to implement everything about God and his teachings in our life, then we can bring wonderful results in the society. And he said, as soon as I raised three fingers, your junior, your attendant, he showed me his fist. And it meant that sometimes enlightenment happens. Enlightenment, God enlightens us at any time, a direct enlightenment directly from the God. And he said that I'm blessed to be here, and he went. Now what happened was, as soon as he went, the attendant arrived. He was very angry, he was out of breath, and he demanded from his senior, where is that monk? The master monk, he said, okay, what happened? He said, that monk insulted me and I'll not leave him. He said, what happened? He said, we were indulging in a dharam combat, in a silent combat, and that the traveling monk, he insulted me by holding up one finger to indicate that I have only one eye. Now see the difference, the story, see the difference over here. The first monk, he said about God, and the attendant, he said that he held up one finger to indicate that I had only one eye. So he said, determined to be polite, I held up two fingers to indicate that you are blessed with two eyes. But he said that he just kept rubbing it in, and he held up three fingers. So the master monk asked, what did that mean? He said, it indicated that altogether there were only three eyes among us. And he said, I got so angry that I went to hit him. I was hitting him with my fist, but he ran off. Where is he hiding? Now, can you see the difference in the story? The situation was the same, but it was the story which was playing out by both the monks. And this is what happens in our life. And we need to be asking ourselves, what is the story that I want to create? Do I want to create a story that leads us to suffer, that leads us to pain, to misery, to be angry with ourselves, with others? Or do we want to create a story that leads to awareness, unconditional love, peace of mind? Because the storyteller, the story creator is no one else but we ourselves. So we need to ask ourselves what we want to create and why it is important. Because I don't even need to ask you this question, is fear harmful? We all know that fear is harmful, very harmful. If we look at the physical aspect, then as soon as we are fearful or we create stress, then it releases certain hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. आप जानते होंगे कई बार लोग कहते हैं that there is a rush of energy. Adrenaline helps me to, improve my performance. But the latest research says that yes, it pushes up your performance a little bit, but when you keep on creating those feelings, what it does, it doesn't pick your performance, it brings us down. Both the performer and the performance suffers. क्योंकि बार बार आप उस हार्मोन को क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, रिलीज कर रहे हैं, तो वो आपकी परफॉर्मेंस ऊपर नहीं लेके जाती है, इट ब्रिंग्स इट डाउन. हम जानते हैं जब हम फियरफुल होते हैं, बहुत स्ट्रेस्ड आउट होते हैं, वी आर वेरी एंशियस, that it increases our blood pressure, our heart rate, and hence it may cause cardiovascular damage. It weakens our immune system. It causes gastrointestinal problems. जो बहुत fearful होते हैं, they have a very weak digestive system. It affects your stomach. Ulcers, ये सारी जो problems हैं, ये basically if you are very fearful, then you may be suffering from these diseases. Sleep या wake cycle जो हमारी disruptions होती हैं, पूरी पूरी रात भर नींद नहीं आएगी. So it impacts us on a physical level. And it also impacts us on a mental and emotional level. Fear is like a fog. When we have fog in winters, what happens is it reduces our ability to see things. Similarly, when we are fearful, it reduces our ability to think clearly, think rationally. And once we have a lot of clutter over here, what it does is it reduces our creative ability, our innovative power. If we keep focusing on the negative aspects, it also brings down our self-esteem. Our resilience power, it decreases. There's a sense of helplessness. We are always anxious. What if this happened? Because I'll not be able to make out of this situation. हम इतना helpless feel करते हैं, we feel we cannot handle life. And when there's so many negative and waste thoughts coming, there's a sense of fatigue and depression. There are some people, उनका अगर आप देखें, संडे को कोई काम नहीं होता है, there is a holiday, but they still feel, worn out. Why? Sunday को physically we are not doing much, but the mind is overactive. And it is overactive means it is mostly going on negative and waste. तो यहाँ थक गया, So what it does is it manifests in the form of fatigueness and depression. तो सबको मालूम है कि ये कारण है. फियर हमको, हमारे शरीर को, हमारे इमोशनल मेंटल सिस्टम को अफेक्ट करता है. So let's go on how what we can do about it. And before we see what we can do about it, I'll ask you, what are the underlying reasons for fear? ये जो हम create करते हैं ये negative thoughts, what are the underlying reasons for that, for fear? आप बताना चाहें? If you want to write on the chat, what are the underlying reasons कि हमें भय होता है, हमें we are anxious, we are fearful? If you can write it on chat. The reasons, underlying, underlying reasons, क्या कारण है? Something happened in the past. Okay, our past experiences, low confidence. Anything else? Open yourself, because there are no right or wrong answers. Overthinking, feeling insecure, perceptions, wonderful. Can't face. Revising and applying past incident present. Okay. Loneliness, fine. Wonderful. So about future investment, thinking about the future. Self-doubts. Okay, wonderful. So all your answers are right, but I have written down certain 3 underlying reasons which I feel take us to a journey where there's, where there's not so much happiness, so much confidence, but we are always, thinking about fear and anxiety. And those 3 underlying reasons are my belief systems, the information which I take from the external world, and the third part is ignorance or darkness, which we'll be discussing. So we'll be taking it one by one. The first one is our belief systems. Beliefs are like these filters on a camera. जैसा फिल्टर होता है, जिस कलर का फिल्टर होता है, वैसी ही पिक्चर आती है. In other words, how we see the world is a function of our beliefs, and it profoundly influences our personality. जैसे आपने देखा ना, वहां पे belief system क्या था? That I am not good enough. So that was the filter with which that monk was viewing himself and everyone out into the world. And these beliefs are very powerful, because what we believe in is how we define ourselves. We may define ourselves as worthy or worthless. We may define ourselves as powerful or powerless, as confident or competent, or as incompetent. We may define ourselves as trusting, or we may always be suspicious of others. We may be flexible, loving, or we may be judgmental. We may always see ourselves as someone who is fairly treated, or we may see ourselves as someone who is always victimized. See ourselves as loved, or see ourselves as hated. और ये जैसा बिलीफ सिस्टम हमारा अपने बारे में होता है, दूसरों के बारे में होता है, विश्व के बारे में होता है, उसी लेंस से हम सबको देखते हैं. हमारा मूड, हमारी परफॉर्मेंस, हमारी फिजिकल हेल्थ, मेंटल हेल्थ, रिलेशनशिप्स, हमारी सेल्फ एस्टीम, सब कुछ इन बिलीफ से अफेक्ट होती है. And some of the negative beliefs which we have are, nothing good happens with me. Why should I try? It's not going to work anyway. The only kind of luck I have is bad luck. I never win anything. Nobody likes me. And when we have these kind of thoughts, we are very fearful of trying new things. We are very fearful of even acknowledging our specialities, of acknowledging our good fortune, of even trying to, do a simple thing like striking a conversation with someone. क्योंकि हमेशा क्या feeling आती है? I'm not complete. I'm not competent enough. I don't have any talents and specialities. And we also have a lot of beliefs about people and about the world. And the two which I have outlined over here is, the world is a very dangerous place to live in. आजकल किसी पर ट्रस्ट नहीं किया जा सकता है, बहुत डेंजरस जगह है. And life is all about competition. आपने भी सुना होगा, life is about survival of the fittest. हम ये अंदर अपने बिलीफ्स रखते हैं ना कि किसी पर भरोसा नहीं करना है. अपने बच्चों को भी क्या कहते हैं? किसी पर भरोसा मत करिएगा. Don't trust anyone. And what we say is, only the strong survive. Why? Because life is all about competition. It's about survival of the fittest. And जब हम इस थॉट को लेके आते हैं, तो what happens is we start to think in terms of scarcity. यानी दुनिया में बहुत कम है और मुझे उसको पाना है. I have to acquire that. There is a lot of scarcity in life. And there was a survey which was conducted by Harvard Business School. Harvard Business School, it asked the students who were graduating. We all know a wonderful, the most powerful business school. And what it did, it asked the students who were graduating, what would you rather have when you graduate for a salary? जब आप graduate हो जाएंगे, what would you rather have when you graduate for a salary? And it gave them two options. And be very careful about the options which it gave. The first option which it gave to the students, it said you make $200,000 upon graduation, and rest of the students, from other universities, they on an average get $150,000. That was the option one. And the other option was you make $220,000 upon graduation, and the rest of the students on average get $150,000. Okay, the option second, there's a mistake over here. The first option was you make $2 lakh and the other one gets $150,000. And the option two, I repeat, the option two, it was you make $220,000 upon graduation, and the rest of the students on average they get $240,000. So don't see the option. There is a mistake over here in the option two. पहले option में था $2 lakh, the rest get $150,000. The second one option was you make $220,000, and the rest of the students they get $240,000. Okay, so आपको क्या लगता है किस ऑप्शन को चूज किया होगा? किस ऑप्शन को चूज किया होगा स्टूडेंट्स ने? ऑप्शन टू. Because in terms of economics, द फर्स्ट वन में तो उन्हें क्या मिल रहा है, 2 लाख मिल रहा है, और सेकंड में उन्हें क्या मिल रहा है, $2,20,000 मिल रहा है, राइट? बट आई मस्ट टेल यू 87% दे चोज ऑप्शन 1, क्योंकि ऑप्शन 1 में क्या था, हम 2 लाख लेंगे बट द रेस्ट विल गेट 1,50,000। ऑप्शन 2 में क्या था, आई गेट 2,20,000 but the others get $2,40,000. So 87% of the students, they chose option 1. Why? Because they were operating from the point of scarcity. They were more focused on your win is my loss. अगर आपको ज्यादा मिल रहा है, माना ये क्या है, this is my loss. It was like आपको ज्यादा मिला, it is you are winning. The focus was on having versus having not. You know, this is what happens when we operate from a point of scarcity. And abundance, it changes everything. When we are operating from a point of abundance, we are operating from a place of confidence. Scarcity comes from place of fear, and abundance, it comes from place of confidence. And once we change this belief, क्योंकि हम जब कंपैरिजन करना शुरू करते हैं, कंपटीशन करना शुरू करते हैं, तो वहां क्या होता है, वहां पे फियर और एंजाइटी शुरू होती है. Because we have been told about survival of the fittest, we keep telling ourselves about the victory of the strongest, about the success of the the most cleverest, but little is said about the most loving, about the most generous, about the most accommodating person. And the more you strive to be the fittest, the strongest, the cleverest, the more there is comparison, the more there is competition, and the more you see yourself as something less. दूसरों से मैं कम हूं. I am something less in this situation. और जहां आप अपने को कम देखते हैं, you see yourself as incomplete, there is scarcity, you will always fear losing something. There is always, there is a sense of loss. You fear. And the more you choose about love, about generosity, then you'll not be just surviving. You will do more than succeeding. You will experience, the full potential of who you really are and who you can be. Because God says that you are a wonderful person, or the most complete person in yourself. So these are the beliefs which we need to change ourselves. And how do we change these beliefs? A very important point. Just change the information which you are taking in. Because the easiest way to create a sanskara of fear is information. What you listen, what you watch, and what you read. आज हम जानते हैं social media, news, and television. This takes up a very big part of our life. Those students, those young people who are regularly on social media, they suffer from, from bouts of anger, fear, and anxiety. Because they are always focusing on others' life, they are always in a mode of survival, of comparison, of competition. और वो क्या होता है, कहीं ना कहीं आपकी अपनी सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट नीचे लेके आ रहा होता है. Yes, we need to know about what's happening in the world, लेकिन बार बार उसी न्यूज को अगर हम प्ले आउट करते हैं, then it means repeated anger, repeated fear, repeated crime. Continues, it is playing out. That story doesn't remain over there. That story, those emotions, then they become a part of my life. We enjoy sometimes crime-based serials, fictional movies, but what it happens is we absorb the content which is playing out there. Because most of the content of the serials or the fictional stories, it has one thing in common. It has terror, it has pain, it shows violence, it shows conspiracy, it shows people cheating, it shows distrust among the most trusted relationships. And if I keep on watching that thing, then what will happen is definitely those emotions become a part of my life. Like we have said, mind has no logic, or fear has no logic. If you keep seeing horror movies, if you keep absorbing negative contents from your friends, therefore we say be very careful about the company which you keep. तो वो आपके जीवन बन जाएगी. I remember when I was very young, so in my school, we had a lot of, I had a lot of friends. So one of my friend once narrated a story कि हमारे स्कूल में एक graveyard थी, and she told me a very horror story about that graveyard, creating a masterful story that how people were sleeping and there was some this negative energy and it took them away, और वो finally they are part of this graveyard. And I remember I heard that story, वो horror content मैंने लिया है, and in the night when I was sleeping, that story began to play out in my mind, and it was like some negative energy would come and it would also take me away, मुझे भी अपने साथ लेके चली जाएगी. But we are not very very aware of how these things are affecting our mind, are affecting us. How it affects, like I said, that quality of the energy or the vibration of story is becoming nutrition of my mind. What I'm seeing is trash, but what I'm doing is I'm taking that trash and I'm putting that trash in my mind in the name of entertainment or in the name of information. हम कहते हैं we are passing the time, but I need to do something where I elevate my energy. I don't need to pass my time, because mind is like a child. What do you do is, if you have a very young child, you have a baby, you are very mindful of the kind of nutrition you are giving to it. So mind is also like a child, and nutrition of information which we give it throughout the day, it is very important. We need to sterilize it. हर चीज को sterilize करते हैं when we bring it something towards a baby. Similarly, I need to sterilize it. ये जितना negative content है, sterilize करना है. And very important, what I give to my mind in the early morning hours. क्योंकि early morning nutrition is the foundation. आज उठते ही we begin to watch our mobiles, क्या news है, क्या खबर है. But we at Brahma Kumaris are very mindful about the content which we are giving to our mind. Our daily routine starts with giving it some elevated, fruitful thoughts, positive thoughts, thoughts of compassion, thoughts of peace, thoughts of love, thoughts of how God is protecting us. Don't watch, read, or listen that you don't want to become. Always keep this in mind. Don't watch, read, or listen that you don't want to become. वो जो वहां नेगेटिव एनर्जी आ रही है, जो नेगेटिविटी प्ले आउट हो रही है, वी डोंट वांट टू बी दैट. सो डोंट वॉच इट, डोंट रीड इट, डोंट लिसन टू इट, because sooner or later it will become a part of your life. And the third one is, we have to move from darkness to light. And what is darkness? Darkness is nothing, but it is ignorance. And light is awareness. We all know everything, but we need to be aware. Awareness is the key. Information is not the key. We all have all the information. In today's world of internet, of Google Baba, सब कुछ जानते हैं. But what we need is awareness. And the ignorance or darkness of who am I. जो ये ignorance है, ये darkness है. It is about one question about my identity of who am I. And once I am aware of this simple question, who am I, तो सारा डर, भय, चिंता सब समाप्त हो जाती है. Because this fear, it is created, it is based on my temporary identity. And my temporary identity, it is based on these things: relations, roles, titles, possessions. आज आप किसी से भी पूछिए to give their introduction. How do they give their introduction? How do we describe ourselves? किसी से जब हम किसी का इंट्रोडक्शन मांगते हैं तो वो क्या देते हैं? They give their name, they tell us about their job, about their profession, about their religion, about their nationality, from where they belong to. हम ये कहते हैं ना, I am a teacher, I am a businessman, but this is your profession. I am a Hindu, I am a Muslim, but this is your religion. I am an Indian, I'm an American, but this is your nationality. My profession, my nationality, my gender, my looks, my relationships, my social status, everything is mine. But spirituality says there is a difference between I and mine. There's a very clear difference between I and mine. But when my identity, it gets mixed up with what I have, with what I possess, the problems होते हैं. Like I can say, this is my mobile, but am I the mobile? There's a difference between I and my. But am I the mobile? This is my mobile, but am I the mobile? No. Difference between I and my. Similarly, there's a difference between I, the real identity, and what is mine, my profession, my social status, my nationality, my religion. These are nothing but these are the labels which we have acquired in my life. This is not me. Labels may include rich or poor, male or female, beautiful or not so beautiful. They may include about my political beliefs, about my nationality, everything. But I am not what I do, from where I come from, what I possess, what I believe. I am, spirituality tells us, I am this beautiful energy. I am the spirit. I am the soul. There's not a soul within each one of us, but I am that soul. A point of energy right in the middle of the soul. And what are the innate qualities of the soul? The innate qualities of the soul, I, the energy, is purity, love, bliss, knowledge, power, peace, happiness. These are my innate qualities. And when we do meditation, It is an opportunity for all of us to experience our inner powers, our inner beauty. ये सब कुछ हमारे पास है. I am complete, I am full. मुझे कोई चीज की जरूरत नहीं है. I have everything within myself. लेकिन जब हम जो हमें मिला है, when I begin to identify with that, तो वो हम जानते हैं everything, those labels are temporary. कभी हैं, कभी नहीं. My profession, today I may be even I may be an IAS officer or an engineer. Tomorrow उसके आगे लग जाएगा फॉर्मर. आज है, कल नहीं है. My social status, today I may be rich, tomorrow what may happen I don't know. My looks, आज है, कल नहीं है. Everything, these are temporary. They may keep on changing. But when my self-identity is based on these labels, so then we start fluctuating. We start creating those, those thoughts of fear. What if ye chala gaya? But the Supreme Soul, God, it has told us that you are a wonderful being, the most complete authority. सब कुछ है आपके पास. कोई ऐसी चीज ही नहीं है जो आपके पास ना हो. एंड वन मोर थिंग, जब हमको अपनी क्वालिटीज पता चलती हैं, तो साइंस क्या कहती है कि हम कहाँ से आए हैं? साइंस कहती है आई एम फंडामेंटली एन एप विद बेसल इंस्टिंक्ट्स एंड माय नेचर इज टू फाइट एंड विन, फॉर इट विल बी द सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट. But when I understand my true nature, then what I say, I am fundamentally divine and my nature is peace, love, and joy. I must emerge and express these qualities through introspection and meditation. These are my qualities. I'm real, I'm strong, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm content. ये मेरी अपनी वास्तविकता है. This is who I am. So just because we are out of time, so just to summarize it, how do we overcome fear? Like we said, जब fog होता है, then we are not able to see clearly. But what do we do when there is fog and we are driving? We turn on lights so that we see clearly. Similarly, if there is a fog of negative thoughts, turn on the light of true awareness that I am this eternal being. Introspection करना है. अपने आप से बातें करनी है that I am this eternal being, complete, pure, powerful, completely confident हूं मैं. और एक छोटी सी कहानी आपके साथ यहाँ शेयर करूंगी. If we have sister Lavnee's sister, how much time do I have? Can I take 7 or 8 minutes more?
Yes, sister.
Okay. So there was this story, and I think a very famous story, that what happened was once Krishna and Balram, they were walking in the forest, and it was quite late. So they decided to rest in the forest. It was getting late, it was night time, so they decided to rest in the forest. And Krishna suggested that, Baldev bhai, you keep watch until midnight, and I'll sleep during that time, and I will watch from midnight till the morning. So the arrangement was that Balram will keep watch from midnight, keep watch from that time until midnight, and Krishna, he will wake up and he'll watch from midnight till the morning. So Krishna went to sleep. Now what happened was, a few hours passed and Balram heard a terrifying sound. He saw a gigantic monster, approaching him. एक बड़ा सा एक monster था, and it was approaching Balram. And the monster, he was making a very fearful noise. He was growling. And as soon as Balram saw, he was very afraid. He started, trembling in fear. And every time he trembled, the monster grew double in size. It kept becoming bigger and bigger. And it became so big that it came right close to Balram. और हुआ क्या कि Balram, he got so scared that he fell unconscious. He screamed Krishna, Krishna, and he fell unconscious. अब जो आवाज हुई थी तो कृष्णा he woke up with that sound and he thought that it must be my turn now. So I have to keep the watch. So he started watching and then he saw that this is a giant, a monster. He's standing nearby. The monster again, he growled at Krishna. So Krishna, what he did was he shouted at him, "What do you want?" And as soon as he shouted at him, the size of the monster, it decreased. It became half its size. Krishna again asked, "What are you doing here?" The monster, it again, shrunk again. And Krishna kept questioning it, and monster became so small that finally he took that monster, and it was no longer a monster. It became, a small, like a playful baby. It became cute and adorable. He kept it in his pocket. Next day, when Balram, he woke up, he said, a terrible thing happened in the night. There was a huge monster. So Krishna took out that, monster out of his pocket and he said, "Is this the same monster?" So Balram, he said, "Yes, but it was so big. How did it shrink?" He said, "Every time I questioned it, it shrunk in size and finally it became this." Every time I questioned it. So I need to question myself why I am so scared of it. जितना आप उसे बार बार क्वेश्चन करेंगे वो क्या होगा, वो कम होता जाएगा. Just introspect with yourself. Just take these 7 points with yourself. Every time you are fearful of something, just ask yourself, is this really true? The first question. जिस भी thought को आप create कर रहे हैं, you are creating those fearful thoughts. Ask yourself, is this really true? What can be the one fact-based reason that can negate this fear of mine? एक फैक्ट निकालिए, कोई रीजन निकालिए कि जिससे जो मैं ये सोच रही हूं कि ऐसा होगा, क्या चीज है जो ये निगेट कर सकती है, that this won't happen. What are the chances of my fear materializing? Chances क्या हैं? Because there are a lot of times when we keep thinking this may happen and even we know that the chances may be 1% or maybe less than 1%. What could be the worst thing that can happen? Okay, will that be the end of the world? No, there is no end of the world. What are the resources that I can fall upon if I have to actually face the worst? Resources पर ध्यान दीजिए कि अपने आप को कैसे हम self progress कर सकते हैं. And the last one, what can I do right now that will help me to prepare myself to face the worst? What can I do right now? And you know what Raj Yoga says is, the best thing which you can do right now, it is meditation. The meditation, it's about creating positive self-affirmations. अपने बारे में सुंदर विचार create करना. I am a pure, powerful being. I am a peaceful soul. My body is free from illness. I am safe and protected in the energy of God. When I begin to create these thoughts, these powerful affirmations, this is meditation, taking energy from the Supreme Being, creating positive thoughts and sharing it with others. This is the best thing which I can do to create a protective shield around myself, such a protective shield जिसके अंदर कोई भी भय या नकारात्मकता नहीं आ सकती है. So just for 5 minutes, we'll be doing meditation. If you have something in your hand, you can place it aside. Just relax yourself. Focus on your breath. Gently inhale and exhale. Just completely relax your body. Now bring your focus to the center of your forehead. To the point, to the energy that I am. Right in the center of my forehead. I, the shining star, a beautiful star, radiating light and might all around. Experience the beauty of yourself. मैं एक चमकता सितारा और मुझ सितारे से निकल रही शांति की किरणें, शक्ति की किरणें। Now slowly experience a beautiful energy, a bright light right above your head. This is my father, my parent, my guide, my companion, the Supreme Being. The divine, the source. And feel fountain of light showering upon me. जैसे जैसे परमात्मा की किरणें मुझ आत्मा पर पड़ रही हैं, I feel myself. God's pure love reaches the soul. And I can feel the power. I can feel the energy. All my weaknesses, all my mistakes vanishing. The pain of the past finishes. The memories of injustice finishes. All the fears and anxieties begin to dissolve in this pure energy. and I can feel white light encircling me, covering me in a white protective shield. I tell myself, I am safe. I am protected. My God, my companion is my protector. परमात्मा मेरे साथी हैं, मेरे रक्षक हैं, हर परिस्थिति में मेरा साथ दे रहे हैं. His love and power is a protective shield for me and for my whole family. Now be an instrument to allow the power of this divine to reach out to others as well. You are a powerful being. You are a successful being. सफलता आपका जन्म सिद्ध अधिकार है. बस सदा अनुभव करें परमात्मा का वरदानी हाथ, उसकी एनर्जी सदा मेरे सिर पर है, छत्र छाया है, मेरी ब्लेसिंग्स हैं. थैंक यू एंड ओम शांति.
Thank you, Didi, for this wonderful talk. And I personally felt you have covered so many different types of fears which we unconsciously inculcate in us. And beautifully, you have step by step told us how to immerse those feelings of abundance so that we can overcome any fear which may come. The best step that Didi said, the time is now to try meditation and reflect upon what are the factors which are creating the fears, and let that illusion break away and create a reality of courage and fearlessness. Thank you, Didi, for this wonderful, wonderful talk. And we welcome you to Shanti Sarovar in person also sometime. And
Yeah, definitely.
Didi, this program has been running continuously despite the lockdown, and this audience, they have been diligently attending every Sunday session. Earlier, they used to come on campus, and now they are attending online. Thank you to all the participants. Thank you, Didi.
And please convey my regards to Didi also.
Definitely, Didi. Sure.
Okay.
So we meet again next weekend, same time, same platform with a new topic, and wish you a great week ahead. Thank you. Om Shanti.